You do the clap?
I'm not sitting down yet. Now I can clap. Do we need to sync into anything?
I don't think so.
So, Mark, what did you think of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds?
Oh, hold on a sec. Do you think we should have, like, an introduction?
Okay.
Hi, welcome to Siskel and Ebert at the Movies.
Yeah.
I'm Mark, and this is Gerkinman.
Yeah, actually, welcome to something that is going to become a very, very rare occurrence.
Yes. Once every 2 years.
Once every long time, called What the Hell Am I Watching?
Yes.
Which is like, I'll sit down with people and review things.
Mostly me.
Mostly you, mostly this guy.
I'm actually composited in from America. I'm actually in green screen.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's green screen then. Basically, Mark is over for a while from the United States. You might recognize him from the Gerkinman live streams.
I usually wear a hat.
Usually wears a hat. Yeah.
Complain a lot.
Not as much as me. And he was here, and we sat down to watch a movie because in a month's time I'll be releasing all of the Martian Saga, which was my 2005 award-winning
adaptation
of War of the Worlds.
Yes.
It won a War of the Worlds Film Festival.
Which, fun to know, I was originally supposed to animate, but he changed at the last minute and had me animate Nimbin while he went ahead and did all the talented stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, while I was working on this War of the Worlds project, there was another War of the Worlds project. Well, there was multiple. There was Spielberg's came out in 2005.
Spielberg's War of the Worlds.
There was Timothy Hines' War of the Worlds and the Asylum's War of the Worlds.
Which is the one we just watched.
We watched
we watched the Timothy Hines version, and the Asylum one. And we all know the Asylum as being awesomely bad.
Mockbusters.
Yes, mockbusters. That is the correct scientific term.
That's right. Paramount Pictures made War of the Worlds in 1953, which was loosely based on the novel.
Yes.
And so they own the rights in the United States for War of the Worlds. In the UK, it is actually owned by Mr.
We have this written down
Jeff,
in the book.
No. Mr. Jeff Wayne's musical War of the Worlds. Thanks to that, he owns the rights in large parts of Europe, and I believe Australia.
We'll flash a picture of that right here.
Yeah. If you haven't listened to it, it's well worth it. So mine failed. And in the spirit of failure, we thought we'd sit down and watch Timothy Hines' H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds.
Yes.
It's very important that you put H.G. Wells in front of it, because that way it's not trademarked. There was 3 War of the Worlds versions.
Came out within
in
a while.
1 year.
This one was actually made first. It finished. We looked this up. Completed
1 month before
filming
Spielberg
a month before they started
shooting.
Who knows how mixed that was in with negotiation and rights and stuff like that, which happens way before.
We don't know. It's pretty scarce information online about what happened.
Obviously, the mockbuster came out after Spielberg's was announced. At least.
Silence was later. Yeah,
the Silence was later. But this one was probably before Spielberg's was ever announced.
It's also probably worth noting that Timothy Hines, I've had run-ins with him before over copyright. So this video, I don't know if it's going to be up forever.
For educational purposes.
This is a review. Please don't copyright.
We are giving our honest opinion. My name is John Doe. This is also Kirkin Doe.
I'm John Doe too.
Mars is in its last stage of exhaustion. For countless centuries, Mars has been the star of war. A colossal puff of flame suddenly squirted out of the planet, moving with an enormous velocity towards this Earth.
But speaking of this movie, what did you think of the film?
We were talking a lot over it because we were semi-analyzing it and drinking.
I'm gonna jump out of the roof! I'm down in the skull!
There was no character arc. I didn't know what was going on half the time. The pacing was off. Not too many continuity issues, honestly, but it did not work as a film. It completely failed in what could be considered a competent film.
It's also worth noting, I've read the novels several times.
You're a big fan of the novels. I've read most of it.
Yeah. So how much of that do you put down to the actual source material?
Well, from what you were saying is that it is quite, what's the word? Give me the word. I'm stalling here. No, it's loyal to the source material, with the exception of a little bit of a few things.
It is loyal to a fault, where the point where things that work in a novel might not necessarily work.
Yeah,
in a film.
We should note that the original novel is done in a semi-first-person view. It's basically someone recounting.
It's reading someone's journal.
It's someone's journal. It's somebody like recounting what they experienced at a later date. He's writing down what he's like. I kind of imagined it as him writing something for the news or a book that other people. Because
there's actually interesting things in the novel. Like I went back to my house to write for my journal. Yeah. So he's obviously lost all his original journals, and he's reminiscing on writing the actual journal. But you can try to be too faithful to the source material, and reading about the character walking to the crash site and then back home, and then back to the crash site and then back home, and then back to the crash site and then back home, and back to the crash site and back home. That works in the book fine. That's not an issue. But in the film, it doesn't make visual sense or any sense.
It doesn't tell us. Watching him walk to and from and not just getting there doesn't make sense to us because it doesn't tell us anything. No. It has no reason to be there as part of the story.
I wonder if they just sat there for a day, just getting to walk back and forth along that road. We should have put a counter in for that road. That's what I should have said. Is scenes of people walking. Walking the movie.
There are necessary changes that you're supposed to make to most novels. I guess there are sometimes you don't have to do it. I guess with the original version of Greed, which we mentioned at one point, 6-8 hours long or something before they cut it down. Ridiculous. But Gone with the Wind would have taken like days to watch if they stayed true the entire thing. But the point is that you're not supposed to do it word for word. You're not. You can't do it. It doesn't work.
That's why they call it adaptations.
Or adaptations.
Or adaptation.
Yes.
Is that how it's pronounced?
That's how I always pronounce it.
Good Lord!
You took a bunch of notes.
I took a bunch of notes.
Because I have seen this film once before, many years ago.
And I have not. But we were trying to figure out what we could write down to take care of it. And the main thing was, whenever the filter color changes, the 180-degree rule, whenever it was broken, or whenever I noticed it was broken, any basic continuity issues, and whenever there was a shit use of visual effects.
Now, keep in mind, we know this was a low-budget film, so we're not shit visual effects. We're saying you could have done a shot without them, or just cut the shot entirely.
Yeah, it's that using the bad special effects made it worse. The 180-degree rule was broken at least 14 times. Not bad.
That's been
but it shouldn't be any more than one.
That's like even big budget Hollywood movies sometimes break this.
They break it, but usually
I noticed it happened in Captain America, and I found it very distracting.
There are times when you can break it because you've set up the shot well enough, so the audience understands the spatial continuity. But this one had no spatial continuity. Any basic continuity things I got? Let's see, what is this about? 19 times. And this is things like people's arms moving or like not positioned after cuts, which I didn't notice that much because the cuts were so rapid I couldn't keep up with it. This is just happening too fast that you can't take it in, you know? And I'm guessing it's because he took all this footage, he wanted to cram everything he could into the movie. Why is he spending
God, that exploded!
Why is he spending like 6 seconds on the one thing going like this? You know, and then 2 seconds.
Because he spent ages getting that CG shot right, so it's recycling.
Basically, what they did, and we'll superimpose pictures here. They used an entire filter color in post production to change how the scene looks.
Right, this wasn't gels. These weren't
gels on the lens. It wasn't special lighting filters or whatever.
Was there any lighting in the film?
I don't even know.
It looked like it was all natural.
I think some of the close-ups might have had like a spotlight or something.
Spotlights.
But basically, it was just straight up single color filter. It's like they just changed the hue of everything to that. And I pretty much what I got was yellow, blue, red, green, I had a question mark for one because I couldn't tell, and then there were a couple of unfiltered or where it was filtered in such a way that it didn't really have a single color.
Now, please, Mark.
Yes.
Can you tell me what each one of those colors represented?
No, because they didn't have a meaning. Okay, so they did have some of a meaning. Yellow generally meant the daytime as opposed to blue, which meant the nighttime.
Red meant something was on
Red
fire.
meant something was on fire. There was something dangerous.
Or something was ruined.
Or I think it went to the brother, or something was ruined, like you said. There was no... Red had no method. Green at least was done... It was done twice for the flashback, and the rest of the time was for aliens.
We're under the alien...
Or anything that had to do when they were stuck under the aliens, yeah. There were some points in the movie where it was going, and we'll get into this, but it was just cutting from yellow to red to green, back to yellow, back to green, to red again, and then back to yellow.
That's worth noting too, there wasn't like everything was tinted in every shot. There were a lot of shots where like a red filter had been applied and everything was red except for the leaves, which were still bright green and stood out, and it was like, what?
They couldn't do proper color correction because they didn't plan ahead of time.
If they wanted everything to be red, they could have just turned the saturation right down,
and
which they did do for some other shots.
Yes, and for somebody working in the industry, just to see this kind of result is just mind-boggling in a sense. And that's what we keep saying, is that we don't know if it's because maybe the shots were just so horrible they couldn't be salvaged. You have to really plan this stuff ahead, because I've seen examples.
And that was actually an interesting point you brought up while we were watching it, was that it almost looks like he's grabbed the raw footage, done the color filtering at that point, and then edited it afterwards, because the color filters don't always match shot to shot.
It jumps between colors in same scenes. There's no method to it. It's just madness. Madness. It's water. And it just hurts because there's nothing for it. The last thing we did was the shit use of special effects. Again, it was the use of the special effects, not the effects.
The quality of the effects.
I marked down 10, 20, 30, 37 different uses of...
And
that was being a little
what
generous.
You consider to be like a use of
an
inappropriate use of special effects, regardless.
The basic one was that there was a lens flare when there really didn't need to be. Compositing poor special effects with the live action
in the foreground.
Doing that once would be fine, because we know you have to do it and you can only do so much on that budget, but doing it 3-4 times in a row with just a character walking down a hill was pretty crappy as well.
The heat ray has the ability to change it from night to day.
That's right.
Oh shit, there's a line of fire.
Thank God wood saved him.
Thankfully wood doesn't burn. You could say that he was really in the line of fire.
Shut up. There was a lot of green screening, if not like half the film was green screening, but sometimes it was green screening an interior of a building, so instead of having a set or a backdrop of some sort, they just green screened it and then filled it in later, very George Lucas-y, except without the ILM budget or talent.
Yes, because ILM was working on Spielberg's at the time.
They are. They're doing... They were busy. They were busy.
I watched the extras, and they made all the visual effects for Spielberg's What It Was done within 6 months, which is a ridiculous...
I want to say
schedule.
that these were done in 6 days. Some of the other ones that I didn't count down were like, they had a train go by and there was crappy steam coming off. Because it's supposed to be steam powered because it's the 1800s, late 1800s. It's unnecessary and it looked bad, but I get what they were doing and I'm not going to fault them for that.
That was world building.
Oh, I do want to also note there was one actual night shot. Everything else was day for night, but there was one actual night shot.
And they're not shots, and I'm sure they're magically going to be cut to now. A lot of it, like... If the frame is all day and then there's too many leaves, so we can't mask around the leaves in After Effects. So just get a photo of the night sky and kind of
kind of do it.
Do a
They didn't
little,
even try.
little
This was done in 2005, so you could probably do it now.
the masking tools in After Effects have improved a great deal, but even then, it's still
Yeah. That's about how we describe it.
Good Lord!
But yeah, it's obviously, you know, they could only do so much, but they did it poorly. And it made it confusing in the end, because it's like, why is it daytime and nighttime in the same
That's
shot?
right. It did make it visually confusing.
Yeah, you made the point that it was like Ed Wood's kind of jump between day and night, where this one did it in the same shot.
It's both day and night in one shot.
It's like, don't do that.
It's very confusing
yeah.
when the main characters are walking around in broad daylight, pointing at stars.
Yeah.
And pointing out the planets.
It's just confusing and
it's
it
very
throws us off.
strange.
Yeah,
because
it's
you
a
can't
problem.
see Mars during the day.
You can't. Most of the time.
I don't think there's any time you can. Someone's asked this before. 10 surprising space objects to see in the daytime sky. Obviously, you can see the sun during the day. Parallaxes on Mars and
You can see the moon. You can sometimes see Venus. Mars might be bright enough in the sky. Not that this is important or anything, people.
Sun, moon. I've seen moon a bunch of times. We're back.
So that was
you
the
can
point.
see Mars
Yes.
very, 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 very occasionally without a telescope
That
during the day.
telescope, yes.
Typically has us beat.
Was that supposed to cut all that out? Yeah, okay.
Shot on digital too.
Right.
Oh, look at that. That's beautiful.
It's Mars.
Good mask around the leaves.
You're
Appropriate use of
He's pointing out Mars in the middle of the day.
They're quite different, actually. Just there. The twinkling one.
So I'm going to put that down as a continuity issue because it's day and night at once.
Good. Now.
Ed would cut back and forth between the two. He's trying to show the two at the same time.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get into the
Film itself.
technical and the film itself. So,
Get comfortable.
get comfortable.
I'm gonna take off my pen.
Again?
Okay.
Cut. So, you having seen this twice now, and read it
Yes.
twice, and probably paid a lot more attention to it the first time than us drinking beer and talking about it all the time. What did you think of the film and how it stood up to the original novel?
This is definitely one of those things where, obviously, having tried to adapt the novel myself, I'm quite familiar with it. There's really only so many ways you can do a lot of the things in that novel.
Yeah.
Did I actually hit record on here?
I hope so.
Yeah, I did. Let's start
Okay, good. How do you think it held up to the original novel and held up as an adaptation of the novel? What do you think of the film?
It doesn't hold up to the original novel because none of the tension is there. It's a very tense novel, and it's a very visual novel. The thing about how H.G. Wells wrote is he wrote all his books as though he was a journalist observing things, and so everything you read, you can picture in your head.
Yes.
And also because there's been other adaptations, aside from the 1953 one, the musical from the 70s captured all the stuff from the book fantastically in musical form. And even it had like degrees of tension and knew how to use music to build tension and whatever. And none of that is in this film. I think he was trying to make the most of a bad situation.
Yes.
I think he had a dream and wanted to make something, and then due to a whole bunch of unfortunate incidents, he got back to the editing table and realized he had what I like to call a clusterfuck on his hands.
That's a trademark term, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Oh no! Mark's missing the epic sequence. Oh, she got stepped on. Oh no! Oh,
Coming.
oh my god!
What did I miss?
You'll have to wait. Oh look, this Big Ben's gonna fall on this bridge. When you're scrubbing through the footage, you'll see it, and you'll be like, when you see this me yelling and you cut to the footage at the same time, you'll know exactly what you're missing.
Because he still went out and shot the footage, and even though if something's low budget, you can still put plenty of planning into it on your own
Yeah,
time.
and that's the
do
other
it.
interesting thing about the film is that it has moments that make you think. I understand Timothy Hines has been in the business for over 20 years, and he comes from a background in TV commercials, and I have seen some of his TV commercials.
Wait, say that again because I want to cut out the yawning.
I know Timothy Hines has been in the industry for 20 years.
Yeah.
I've seen some of his TV commercials. I know he can shoot.
Yeah.
And there are glimmers in the film of competency, which is what makes the rest of it so curious. Occasionally there's like an interesting camera angle or something like accidental cinematic pieces.
Or even something
there.
simple like a cut that's done well when he's doing cutting on non-green screen stuff. But that's mainly what it is that's mostly on a green screen. So you have no reason to cut angles because they're all flat.
As much as those shots are in there, for every one of those there's 10 shots of the main character walking. The other thing that's worth noting is you got the money, someone says, yeah, you can make this movie, you get the green, go ahead. Mm-hmm. There's an old saying that I'm going to quote Jurassic Park here.
Go.
You were so busy wondering if you could do something, you stopped to think about whether or not you should. And I think what's happened is Mr. Hines loves this book. He's like, I have the tools to do some kind of adaptation. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make something. And he did make something. But he didn't stop to think, is this really the best idea? Should I go ahead with this minuscule budget and make something that people are going to make fun of me for?
He was possibly over ambitious with the tools and budget he was given. Let's actually talk about the special effects. So it's a low budget
This
movie.
goes back to my just because you can doesn't mean you should thing.
Yes, and that's
This is I made mine with $0, but I worked with them on limitations.
Yes.
And because I understand the platform I was making it for, I had a nice art director, I managed to make something that looked reasonably...
Yes.
The movement was terrible, but the art design was nice.
Yeah, no, it was fine.
I think what's happened was he shot the stuff and then gone to do the visual effects afterwards.
Yeah, probably.
He hasn't planned what will be visual effects shots before doing them, because there's a lot of interesting sort of like tracking shots that don't work.
No, there's like things that are thrown in there, just obviously composite, like dead bodies and stuff that just seem to be like an afterthought.
The main one to look weird is like the Martians have no weight; they just kind of like float like this over the backgrounds, and I think that's because a lot of those shots they've moved the camera while someone's walking or whatever, and then decided to put the Martian in there
this was completed in 2005, so they probably didn't have the motion tracking technology.
Marco was still pretty early.
There were a lot of weird lightning flashes all around on a starry night. Clear skies, lightning flashes.
No clouds.
No. And obviously, it's like lightning is obviously a storytelling device.
Yeah.
In which it's supposed to be scarier.
Well, the original reveal of the tripods in the book was you see their silhouettes
against the lightning.
Well, you see their silhouettes kind of in the cloud.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is that? And there's a lightning flash, and you get to see the whole thing for like a split second in your brain. Yeah. And it goes dark again. Yeah. You can just kind of like see the lights from it.
Yeah. So
and that's scary, but in this it's just kind of like straight up. Here's the ant walking around.
Personally, that's it.
That's our first view of them.
I don't even know. Why are they moving so fast? Spin up the camera.
Inappropriate stuff is like, say, the way that people die when they hit with the heat ray.
Yes,
fire comes out of their mouths.
Yeah,
and then they turn into dancing skeletons for a couple of seconds before dropping.
I think the best way to describe this is if you've ever gone bowling and you have some of those animated pin animations.
That's exactly what it looks like.
That is kind of what it looks like. It's that quality.
Keno, bingo, sort of.
Yeah, kind of those
old
cheap little things that feel like they were done in the 90s, but.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump out of the roof. I'm down in the skull.
Do you think that they filmed that in a sense that they think they could have made it dramatic?
I think by making the death slower, it was supposed to be more dramatic, but instead it accidentally made it comical.
See, and this is...
That's what made the Spielberg one so scary, is when that thing comes out, it's just like... and people just go... everywhere, and
Yeah.
that was terrifying. It's a simple concept, and the idea of being hit by a beam of heat. It makes more sense to have people, and that's how the book describes it. It said instantly turn to fire, not gradually turn to skeleton.
The green screen. Let's get the green screen stuff. I don't think we talked about that
Don't
yet.
do it, kids.
Don't do
Green screens like
Don't
drugs.
green screen
Just
anyway.
Don't do green screens.
Do it if you have to. Do it if you need to green screen something.
Hey, Mark, you just
Yes.
watched this movie. Tell me where you would use it appropriately in it.
I would use it appropriately when the character needs to be in front of one of the gigantic CGI places.
Oh,
or
yeah.
maybe if he needs to be in front of an area that you can't physically film on, like London. Like if London's in the background.
Yeah.
I would not do it when you're sitting at a kitchen table. Don't do that, kids.
Don't do kitchen
Do
table.
not.
Do not green screen interiors.
No.
George Lucas does it, and he's an idiot
That's
for doing it.
horrible. Yes.
It gets to the point where, is it really that hard to get a table and chairs and just kind of like
Go film in somebody's house.
go from someone's house?
Seriously. It's
Just
not
put
that
up,
hard.
just move any modern furniture out of the shot and just put some candles up.
Yes, it's really not that bad. I mean, we'd probably forgive it more that it doesn't look like it's ransacked than we would that it doesn't look real. Why is he doing everything in front of a blue screen?
He thinks it's George Lucas.
But the window's open!
Let's put a blind front of the Okay, front
What are you looking at?
He knocked the glass bottle over.
No, I
think
know
it's
that,
spooked
but
him.
what is he looking at?
I think he thought there was maybe something out of the window.
But he's inside!
There could be a window we can't see. Yeah, it's just something about I can it's like low budget filming. You can understand having to have shitty looking certain exterior shots, but having bad CG interiors is super confusing.
No, it's just that, and it also screws up being able to composites to block a scene because you're just characters on a blue screen. How are you going to film them?
From this one
Here, at this angle. Do a close-up here, do a close-up here, do the two-shot, there you go. It's not how you should film something.
There's also a lot of old techniques that I think are cheaper than green screen and easier that they could have used, such as rear projection.
Yes.
And things like that, which probably would have looked...
Rear projection
Because
probably would have been hard.
This was
to
at a
do.
period where After Effects, I don't think you could just key out the green. You have to manually mask everything, and it shows because everyone's like when people are masked, it's all wibbly wobbly, and you can see on their noses and stuff. If they just had him standing behind a reprojection screen and just projected, I mean, it's not going to look ideal, but it would look better.
No, but they would have had to rent out a projector, and they don't have the money for that. They spent it all.
Cheaper than
they spent it all on that
to clip out the masking.
They spent it all on that car. That's their budget. Their budget was on that car.
There's an authentic car of the period that drives past. Oh look! Remember this road? Look at that, a real car.
They spent how much money on the real car?
That's the budget.
That's the budget.
The budget just drove past.
Yeah.
My favorite part of the movie is just like a punch up in some dirt, and there's just because you get so used to seeing all these poorly composited effects everywhere, and then all of a sudden there's just like two guys beating the shit out of each other in the dirt, and it looks like they're really fighting, and there's like dust getting kicked up by them actually fighting, and it's all real, and it feels like a completely different movie, and I enjoy that like 3 minutes more than any other part of the film.
I think they want to show the brother as more of a brave person, someone who's trying to protect people, whereas the main
after
one
he stole a
wasn't.
bike with
After he
flat
stole a bike,
tires.
that was actually I want to mention that. Is that there were a lot of scenes that were thrown in there that didn't lead to anywhere, but they weren't like full scenes. They were just like these short little things, like the bike. He steals the bike, drives somewhere. The bike is flat, or he can't. He rides it for one camera shot, and then it's like take the bike, drive off screen, camera shot, riding the bike, camera shot, stop the bike. Throws it on the ground,
I'm angry.
and then runs away.
Why did I even steal this bike?
Yes, no, it's like,
gosh.
what was the point of that? Did it want to be like an action scene or something that just didn't work?
Is the tire flat?
I don't know.
It is. The tires are flat. He's realizing, oh, this is rubbish.
What was the point of
You
that?
stole a bike that had flat tires.
What was the point of that scene?
Pleased to make your acquaintance.
It's also worth pointing out the folly.
Oh my, that was inconsistent.
There's some interesting folly in the film.
There's one fire sound
There's one
effect,
fire sound they just loop, which I've been guilty of doing, but in 3 minutes.
but you're not making a movie.
I'm not making a
DVD.
movie for DVD.
And you're not
also-
having an entire building on fire. Why is everything on annoying fire?
Why is the red weed growing on fire?
Yeah.
There's also some really...
There's some screaming and some babies crying at points in the
it's
movie.
really low
It's
bit
low
rate.
quality, and I
It
can't
sounds
even tell.
terrible.
I swear that one of like the tripods that when they slam down, I swear to God, it is the same sound effect from Duke Nukem 3D. And that's partially because you do have to pay for royalty-free sound effects.
Sound DVDs aren't expensive though. They're like $7
I
for
mean,
like
well, this
5,000 sounds.
This was 2005.
They
those-
weren't expensive back then.
And those are 2000. Those are royalty-free.
Yeah, that's what you do. You pay like $7 and you get like a DVD with like a couple thousand sound samples.
Is
on
it that hard to do that? Okay, well...
Well, even
yeah.
like if you've been working in television commercials for 20
Yeah.
years, I would assume you have access to a sound library.
Or just
Maybe
hire
that's where they
somebody,
came
or just
from.
hire somebody to come to your,
A
house,
sound booth isn't
a
expensive.
sound booth,
for a
and then
day.
just have somebody scream, an actor scream into a freaking mic.
The heat ray!
Something. What else?
The Thunder Child.
The semi-climax.
It's the climax of the book because humanity can't do anything after this point.
No, this is the
It's
top of the line
It's a big it's
technology. It's an ironclad.
it was one of the ironclads covered in massive
Yes.
turrets and stuff.
In the late 1800s, this was the highest
It's the
technology
bee's
that they had.
knees.
Yeah, the bee's knees.
So there's a sequence. Oh man, it plays out so good in my head where
Yeah, me
they're all escaping this ferry. Yeah, the Thunder Child's like there to protect them, and they're all like trying to escape their friends.
Is it a warship?
Yes. It is an ironclad ram. It is the Thunder Child, I believe.
Tripods like walk up over the hills and then down onto the beach and then down into the ocean
Yeah.
to obliterate this boat.
Yeah.
And then this other the Thunder Child comes in and it fucks shit up. They don't know what it is because they don't have water on Mars. and it like destroys them, one or two of them. And
Yeah,
it's
and then she
"Whoa!"
gets-
and
and
then they
it's good
sink it.
Yeah.
But it's super epic, and the way it's described in the book is just like blah. And you could tell, and I'm sure Timothy Hines, I think he's openly said that he was really disappointed with the sequence too. He couldn't do it justice with what he had.
No. He could.
Yeah, that British flag.
Basic continuity again.
No, they're two different boats. They're on a ferry, and that's the Thunder Child.
That's still basic continuity because I couldn't realize that. I don't know what they're looking at.
Oh.
Yay!
Wait, did it cut one down yet?
I don't know.
Why did it cut
Why did it
during
cut
the epic
red?
battle?
Yeah, red.
I don't know if he says Timothy Hines. I don't want to shit all over your movie, but
Yeah,
you can't cut halfway through a battle sequence and then cut for something else.
I mean, this is...
Unless it's something else action orientated. Okay, the climax of the film.
Which one?
Really,
What's-
it has a real anticlimax, and I guess
Yeah.
kind of the novel kind of does.
So just
If anyone is not
tell
familiar,
us what happened in the
yeah,
novel.
for
Tell us
anyone
what
who's not
happened in
familiar with the original novel, the character he's basically lost everything, and he finally makes his way to London, and he's walking around the streets, and everything's dead. There's nothing. There's like nobody around. Eventually, he just sees he's just like, all hope is gone. Everyone's dead. Why am I even still alive? I don't care anymore. I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna sacrifice myself to pull myself out of the misery. And he starts walking up to he finds a tripod, and is standing there motionless, and he's like, that's it, I'm just gonna give myself to them, and let that be that. and he goes to sacrifice himself in the middle of the city, and he realizes there are crows circling it and pulling the dead Martian bits out of the hood of the machine.
The scavengers, basically.
The scavengers are like eating them because they're dead by the bacteria.
The Martians had no resistance to the bacteria in our atmosphere to which we have long since become immune. Once they had breathed our air, germs which no longer affect us began to kill them.
This film obviously didn't have the budget to put a big tripod in the middle of London, even though they had a very poorly made CG London. He doesn't go there, he's just in the middle of a field and sees one tripod. He comes out of the bushes, and then there's some handy-cam this business while he towards them, and he's just like, take me!
Yeah, it's not really that well
and then there's
shot
and then it cuts to a dead Martian on the ground, and then
no,
it's like...
No. It cut to the tripod looking down.
Oh, yeah, it cut to the tripod turns and looks at
him and must die in that 1 second.
Yes, and then it cuts to some dead Martians on the ground and gets some voiceover saying, and they're all dead.
And I saw them. Some in their overturned war machines, some in the now rigid handling machines, and a dozen of them stark and silent and laid in a row were the Martians, dead, slain by the putrefactive and diseased bacteria against which their systems were unprepared, slain as the red weed was being slain after all man's devices had failed by the humblest things that God, in his wisdom, has put upon this earth.
And then it just cuts from like, my life! And that's the end. And there's actually no emotional like just call it a rush would be a understatement. You don't feel any of the characters' pain or emotions or anything. He's just he just busts out the bushes and goes, I'm going to sacrifice myself now because that's what the script says. And then he kind of goes.
He kind of squints very hard.
He squints hard and stands there.
And it looks like he's crying.
See, there's no dramatic build up. He's just
fucking take me, please. I lost everything in the bushes.
And Dark's like, okay, go
Like some
please.
electric buzzer in his hand.
Obviously the actor cannot portray that kind of emotion.
Yeah,
at least
he's
with
good
that
at,
kind of directing.
He's
I
good
don't
at
know.
being like the everyman, but as soon as the actor needs to actually portray something other than
And
that,
it's obviously a low budget thing, so you're not getting
Yeah.
super talented actors. You're getting actors that can do basic stuff. And I always feel bad saying that because I don't want to.
I like his stick-on mustache because he gets it all wet and it doesn't come off his face.
Yes, there's no progression of time in this movie.
Yeah, it's supposed to
They
take
don't get
span
beards.
of like a week.
Yeah, like they're trapped. They're supposed to be trapped in that barn or whatever under the thing.
No stubble, no dirt on his face.
No stubble, no dirt. The costumes are the same, which are understandable and low budget because you can't afford to do anything with costumes.
Yeah. If you have to do a reshoot, then you
Can't do that.
Good Lord!
It's possible that maybe they only have the actor for a certain amount of days, and they try to do all the stuff in like 3 days, so they don't have to pay him 4 days worth of salary. That's obviously an exaggeration. There's no one that can do all that in 3 days.
That'd be amazing.
Well,
Oh God, it's too red. I need to take a whiz. I'm probably gonna miss the end of the movie, but I mean, like, seriously, the Martians are all dead now, and how big of a deal was it? Not at all.
apparently there were a lot of buildings that were destroyed, and
I like it. They're just like Martians.
the main's back! Yay!
Is there anything you liked about the movie? I like some things about the movie.
There were some things that were things that I didn't hate in this.
What didn't you hate?
I liked it in the sense that that it was like after with all the crap that we see in it is that there's this that was actually done well. That wasn't bad.
There's surprises in there.
There's like the fight scene we were talking about. I liked the one part where I won't say I liked it, but you could tell that the director was trying, and it was kind of like, I'll give you this. You're not doing a good job, but you're trying, and I can see this was it. It was the main character and the priest, and they're cutting the whatever food they have, and the priest is like praying like this or whatever, and he's like praying for food for like too long, and like the main character is just kind of like, what's wrong with him? Just cut my meat, but it wasn't too well done. But I could tell what he was trying to do, and I kind of feel bad that. Like that feels like that's the best he could do. It almost conveyed what he wanted to, but it.
Do you think that's if you had better actors, they shot it the same way?
No, because I think it was partially the editing. Because it was like cut. I get it.
So tense, there's a wind sound effect. What's that? There's no music.
That was the best part of the movie. I think I need a third beer. Let's do final thoughts, I guess. Do we have anything else we want to talk about?
Well, I guess, would you recommend this film? And if so, why?
No. Honestly, if you want to compare all the War of the Worlds stuff, all 4 films that have been out, the Asylum one, Spielberg, this one, and then 1953 one, watch them all and then just rate them like that. Otherwise, maybe if you're a fan of War of the Worlds and just want to see other people's takes on it, but otherwise, no. There's nothing redeeming to it. Watch it if you want to find out what not to do and learn from it. That's the most important.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. I would not recommend this movie to people who enjoy bad movies because it's not particularly funny bad. It's just kind of like weird. But for people who are like interested in filmmaking,
yes,
I think this film is fantastic. Even
like I was just fascinated.
It's a fascinating film.
Yeah, it's just like, why did they choose this thing? What, like, I know don't do this, but they still did it. It shows you why you shouldn't do green screen. It shows you why you shouldn't...
Why shouldn't do green screen on a budget?
On a budget. You shouldn't just color correct everything to one solid color. It shows you why there's importance to planning your shots out ahead of time, and planning your CG out ahead of time. That's why you need to watch it as a learning aid, if anything.
He could have made a period War of the Worlds film that focused on someone other than the book, and it focuses on their survival as opposed to following the book, and that would have meant that he could focus on the characters, and less special effects would mean better special effects, because you have that extra money to put into the few shots you do have.
Of course.
That would have been a stronger film.
That's also something else to bring up, is that usually when you have limitations, your talent can shine through because you're able to work around the limitations. The result of this film was not one of being able to work around the limitations.
That's right. I think maybe if we saw the source material, it might be amazing.
It might have been just something that could have been better and was screwed up and just with the CGI, or maybe just like fixing one thing could have fixed a lot of problems with it, but
as far as
the final result comes out as that. And honestly, I don't know how talented Timothy Hines is. I haven't seen his other stuff or his commercials. Maybe his commercials are fine. I assume they are if he worked in the industry.
They're fine.
And honestly, he's made a movie that's gone to DVD. We haven't, so
that's true.
He's got that. Honestly, we can't say that. I'm going to assume that 10 people are going to watch this review. So go figure. He spent money for something, and you guys haven't.
Good Lord!